Hey everyone, welcome back to Trekyards. I am Captain Foley.
And I am Commander Cockens.
He's my drone. He just drones on in one long, incredibly unbroken sentence, moving from topic to topic so that no one has a chance to interrupt. It's really quite hypnotic.
And today we're talking about the drone ships, the Section 31 drone ships from Discovery, the season finale. Not a reveal or a surprise because they were in the preview. They were tentatively spawning a few nice things in that, but that's okay. But we got to see them in action. The sort of epic moment, and what they are useful as, I guess. Stuart, what are your thoughts?
I mean, we saw the ships surrounding Discovery and Enterprise in the circle. This is one of the Miranda style one. It's got the roll bar. It's got the lower slung nacelles, as you can see from the photo. So it's a ship that's going to be worth talking about on its own merits at some point. But is it designed specifically to be a drone ship, or did Control, with its nanobot technology, or nanite technology, reconfigure the ship, or was it built this way? Because if the nanites can reconfigure technology, maybe they could alter it this way. But it was such a great line and great moment where Giorgio's like, Control, or Leland, we've got like 200 ships here. You've got like, what, 30? And he said, look again. And then it's like, oh yeah, all these little drones come out. Now, what kind of firepower something like this small would have is questionable. They could themselves be just explosives, much like a photon torpedo. Like there's multiple tactics you can use with these drones, but I don't know. What's your feeling on? Do you think they have phasers, or like are they mobile phaser platforms?
Well, we know they have some
what's the
sort
situation?
of projectile because in the battle they go pew pew and then all these little blast hits, and then they're like, oh my gosh, shield's down to 40%, and it never say like their suicide drones. That would also work fine. Now, it's intriguing that they give us the Section 31 primary ship. Early in the season, it can do a cool camouflage cloak thing. It's very fast, it's powerful, although not really stated how much. We see 3 of them in an episode. Surprise, we thought we were only 1 ship. And this episode, we see 3 big ships. We see 2 4 nacelle, 1 2 nacelle, lower slung, and one of the 4 nacelles and the lower slung both have roll bar. And this is meant to be all bar maybe 1 or 2 of the Section 31 ships. They say this is almost all of them. Although it begs the question of, so I guess Control was in those ships and then got killed by Starfleet at the end of the season when they tracked it down and never got off the ship? So we know they've got 3 ships, and so this is what the fleet of Section 31 is. It's mostly small ships with a few big ones. And if you look at how they're presented, most of the saucer deconstructs itself and becomes drones. So I guess if you need to attack somebody, these are the 3 capital ships that you bring in. You know, most of the time it's all about subterfuge, but these are the 3 warships. So that implies to me drone combat is massively important. That, you know, they're not a big agency that has, you know, Starfleet's resources in terms of personnel, but in terms of tech. And so they went for the approach of, well, if we can send, you know, 180 drones and our big cannons, maybe we can destroy ships. And we've got, you know, we've pioneered that technology. So it's interesting, although again it doesn't conform with anything we've seen post or pre to the drones, because you'd think that would be super advanced, super useful. Though obviously it's not that useful in the battle; it doesn't do that much really. But is that a good strategy for a clandestine? Or well, I guess they're not secret yet. But is it a good strategy to have these 3 capital ships that are designed to have? That's the difference. They launch little fighter ships.
Well, yeah, it's very much like the krill technology and mentality of a swarm. One ship turns into a swarm, which can be quite effective against a larger ship.
Yeah.
Especially if they are like suicide drones that have a high yield explosive.
Yeah.
You launch a bunch of them at a ship's shields. The shields are down instantly. And then you can launch a few more and destroy a ship if you want. Yeah. You can also launch these planet side, let's say, to do recon and reconnaissance.
Yeah. True.
If you're a spy organization, you can have them like collecting information, or even assassinate a bunch of people planet-wide at the same time. There's so many uses that I could see these employed for, especially for a clandestine organization like Section 31. So I kind of like the idea. I don't like that they're armed necessarily with like phasers. They seem more like a suicide weapon to me, like slamming into the ship's
not
shields.
Suicide, just kamikaze, I guess is a better word, because they're not manned.
Yeah. But I could see a lot of different uses for them for sure. And if you do find yourself outnumbered with a single ship, these are definitely helpful. As we see in this situation, I mean, this battle was kind of not as exciting as it could have been, but it can take out smaller ships like shuttles and other fighters as well. So,
well, that's the problem with having hundreds of small ships. They get destroyed instantly, and they can't damage the big ships. And so the directors, the writers, they have the ability to show things blowing up, but it means nothing in the greater context of the battle. When you have big ships, well, each friendly being destroyed means something. Each enemy means something. And so there's shots of this battle, like, we don't even see them shoot weapons at the big ships. Like, as far as we know, the larger Section 31 ships, except the Cleave ship, are completely unharmed by the end of the episode. Like, we see no damage, we see no destruction, completely irrelevant. It's only the drones that do anything, and yet the entire battle, before the drones managed to do one pass that lowers the shields of Discovery down by 20%. They only do that once, and when the shields hit 9%, they stay at 9%, then they go off, the drones do nothing, they get up to 40%. So the drones are incredibly ineffective, and obviously the conceit of the ship can't survive, but they had weeks, months to design this battle, to design the ideas, and the drones were horribly underutilized and unused. There's an episode in Star Trek Discovery. The much better equivalent is in Stargate Universe. One of the rules of Stargate Universe was that we're not going to show humans. It's a galaxy, even seeing aliens is kind of rare, and so the big threat for season 2 is drones. Is an ancient, set of technology that destroyed their creators years ago, was dormant, but then tries to go after technology, and they smell destiny and they follow it. And these drones, they change strategies, because while yes, they can destroy drones very easily, if you're facing 80, 90, 100, and some are shooting a different shield points damage them, and then at some point they said, the drones thought, well, we can't damage you by shield impacts with weapons, we'll kamikaze, and they do kamikazes, and because you've got hundreds of drones, it doesn't make too much, and it feels very powerful, and they feel very balanced, and they feel like a real threat. In this, I mean, do they feel like a real threat at any point?
No, they really didn't.
It's
it
weird.
was just like, ooh, impressive numbers. You can take out, our small fighters and keep our shuttles busy maybe for a few minutes. Mind you, they would be hard to target because they are so small. Plus, they're probably super maneuverable. They're not manned, so you don't have to worry about somebody liquefying on the inside. You don't need extra tech for inertial dampeners or whatever, so they can probably be very maneuverable. They'd be hard to hit for bigger ships' phasers.
Although they do say automatic targeting, and we do see in the battle, either it's a flak shield, which is unprecedented in Trek, and so it would be weird if it was, or actually explosions of ships. So they are able to hit, because if you just constantly fire beams and move, I mean, you can hit maybe 3, 4, 5 in one path. I mean, they only have a certain amount of drones. It was weird that as soon as they introduced the drones, the queen that was in a shuttle, which I thought was really dangerous, blah blah blah, was like, really cool armor. You can destroy them by shooting 2 different places at the same time, so it's 2 against 1. And I'm thinking, so they just launched 3 ships with the drones, probably at least 100 each, given the visual. You don't outnumber them anymore, so the drones can now attack you in numbers, but if it's 2 for 1, then you can only attack 150. You can only attack 100 drones at any given time because you only have 200 shuttles. But they've got double the amount of that, so they're going to be hitting your shuttles more than you can hit them. And, like you said, they're more maneuverable than you can be because you're a person. And so now all of a sudden you've created this situation where surely now you can't destroy the drones quick enough. Anyway. And yet they didn't do much. It's a very weird battle in terms of power levels. Like, you would assume the 6 normal ships just themselves would be really powerful. But they're not. No one fires torpedoes except the one. It's a big torpedo. It's a very, very weird battle.
It is an odd battle, for sure. And yeah, that refractive lattice shielding.
Yeah.
You can tell by the wave pattern. That was interesting because do all Section 31 ships have this or just the small drones? It's like, it's obviously a newer kind of tech. So that was interesting, but ultimately pointless because
it just padded the episode.
Yeah,
by
even Yeah, even the drones launching just padded the battle, and
Yeah.
it just felt, as I said about the whole episode, it was just a lot of flash, no substance. It was just like, hey,
Oh,
it's showy and glitzy, and it could have been cut in half the battle scenes, you know?
You know what they did? And they mentioned this in the last episodes. Look, we did a post talk. The writer director person, or the writer said, we really loved the lady who's in Runaway. We brought her back. We knew what to bring her back. She wasn't originally in the end. She was brought back in. So I bet because people liked her, it feels like such a, we filmed the extra scene of her in the shuttle. Like, that could easily just be a reshoot. Like, come on, actress, come for a day. We'll film you in front of you'll film in the shuttle, and we'll film the other actors in front of their bridge. Because it didn't add anything. Like, we'll give you something smart to say. That probably was a reshoot, because it didn't add anything to the story. She didn't need to be there. She didn't die. She didn't have any sort of moment, really. And she definitely should have been killed, because out of the 198 shuttles, and there's like 300 drones, really? None. She didn't die? Like, that's a bit lucky. I mean, obviously she's a hero, but like, she was in no particular specialty to survive. So yeah, the drone ships were interesting, but severely underutilized. And I remember thinking last episode, wow, they designed more ships. And yes, obviously the fauna cell is just a tuna cell with two more cells. It's just a kit bash on the same thing. But we didn't even get a single close-up, really. We never got, like, a close-up of them firing their normal guns. We never got them, like, going over the ship and firing big beams. We never got a sense of, like, three of the small ships doing anything. They even have guns. Like, we sort of seen fire lasers, but never anything.
But I mean, more should have been focused on the ships in the battle. It was a visual mess.
Which is funny, because you complain there's too much battle. So explain what you mean. You just said more.
Too much useless battle. You see like a bigger ship in the distance, and a lot of flak explosions, like you say. A lot of little zzz, not detailed. You focus on the big ships doing like cool things, like have like a GoPro camera set up, ducking and weaving and taking stuff out. That's a cooler battle scene for me. There was just too much going on the screen at once,
and yet no repercussions for any of it.
Yeah, especially when Burnham launched and she had like 20 shuttles like doing this around her, and some were getting picked off, and it was just like, it's a visual mess.
It looks great.
Didn't need to be that. Yeah, but it didn't need to be that long and that cluttered, in my opinion.
And imagine the people, again, these are manned things. So whoever's got the short end of the stick to be on the end of that formation just gets blown away within 1 second. It's like, damn it, I'm sorry, botanist Sally. I'm sorry, engineer Tim. I'm sorry, and like literally she's watching her, her friends dying around her and Enterprise crew dying around her. It seems very odd. That's why we were kind of hoping for capital ships. Capital ship combat's interesting, because then you can have a phaser beam from Enterprise piercing like Wrath of Khan, destroying the pylon. That's a cool sense of battle. Or maybe firing a torpedo into their torpedo tubes, like a weird, like, maybe called secondary explosions, cool things. And then you get a sense of, 7 ships down. Now the Klingons are here, yay! But now these ships are doing, because the AI would have these plans. It would have, it would understand the ships, it would understand your tactics. Maybe they remodulate their shields to block your weapons fire. So when the Klingon ships come in, that's the turn of battle, because they have weapons they can't compensate for. Or the special shielding, but on the capital ships, and so they have to, like, concentrate fire. And now these 2 ships are getting battered. And then you could have shuttles are fine, maybe like 50 shuttles, if you really push it, 35 shuttles. But, you know what I mean? To not see a single capital ship do much, except those couple of story-based, and we'll say when the drones do one thing and they all attack at the same time, Enterprise blocks it, beautiful. Gorgeous VFX. Yeah. Absolutely. That was cool. A standout moment for sure. We've never seen that before, and yet they can survive at 9% for a long time, and then at the end of the battle, have no visible damage on the hull, except for the Enterprise's big damage, but didn't even see it explode per se. So it was a very weird battle, and the drone ships were severely underused, severely undershown. But you can kind of tell from the shots, they're very simple geometry. Like, they were like a day build by a good artist. They were not meant to be close-ups. They were not meant to be focused on. They were just like, quickly build a bigger ship. I've got sketches. This. They were just there as something. I'm glad they're there. But normally, when you introduce that's the first time in Trek history, except, well, not even for Beyond, because they weren't connected to a ship. They were individual ships that, that wasn't even the same thing. this is a massive concept. A ship that can warp in, launch 100 small drones that can all attack in unison. That's a big concept. Didn't do anything with it. So it's weird.
Yeah, they could have been way more effective as a single, like, straight up attack, line of ships going straight into the shields, and then hull, and then boom, gone.
Well, and not just that, but Leland, a super smart AI, mostly sentient, if it's controlling them all, then it should be super unified, you know. Wow, more than you would have if it was the crew controlling them with the consoles. You know, wow, 150 fighters all attacking one shield vector at the same time.
Yeah. The whole Leland controlling each of them and still doing its own thing and not having any help from anybody aboard any of the Section 31 ships that's multitasking to the maximum. So no wonder they weren't doing anything. They were just flying around being distractions for everybody. I don't know. Could have been more utilized a lot better, but just wasn't. So
this battle symbolizes we thought through the story, although plot holes, but we didn't actually really design a battle. No one on the team knows how to do battles. You know, it's like the Wrath of Khan battle is really well thought out. Okay, it's more like beat reaction. But even the Nemesis battle in Basin Rift has sort of layers of combat. You know, starts off in one direction, there's another direction, and also it's very focused.
You see strategy. You see strategy and tactics.
Yeah. And while it's still like shield impact, becoming a bit more visceral, it has levels of strategy to it, and you can understand it easily. Not that I'm saying simplicity is key, but if 200 drones are in this battle and not winning, you know what I mean? If they're not winning, then that's a problem. If you're outnumbered, if you've got, because no offense, Stuart, but the, not to you obviously, but if you recall in the first episode, those little zoomy pod things, it got hit by Boulder and got blown up. So, I mean, they're not going to survive weapon hits. And
they weren't designed for that. Absolutely, they had minimal shielding. So,
and if you put weapons and shields on them, again, very limited to the point that I would struggle to assume they could destroy a shuttle. Real bizarre. But great episode, big holes, but still a roller coaster of enjoyment. And please do go watch season 2, better than season 1, and we look forward to seeing the ships actually see them in Eagle Moss, because that's where we're going to see them next.
Yes. And cool new tech, new ships that we need to still take a closer look at, but we didn't see much of them. No. We will take a look because we are Trekyards.
Yes.
So stay tuned for future videos. And if you want to get notified of those videos, click the notification icon. Very important. And subscribe to the channel. And also liking the video helps us in many ways that you don't even realize. Also, you can help us on a monthly basis by clicking the Patreon link down in the description. While you're there, you can also, he mentioned Eagle Moss ships. You can get discounts on your Eagle Moss ships by clicking the link. And there's other cool stuff down there as well. Some Trekyards merchandise and other great ways to help us. So,
and obviously, just always, guys, you know the drill. We're going to go out and do more videos because there's more. But yeah, Patreon, Super Chat Lives, all the cool things. But we'll see you next week, next time, next day. All the cool videos on this episode. And pretty much it. Until next time, guys. Commander Cardinals.
And I'm Captain Foley, and we're done droning on and on. We'll stop now.
Bye,
guys.